In the Unresolved Problems segment tonight, a potential break in the case of Natalee Holloway. You may remember the 18-year-old vanished in Aruba in 2005, and now the lead suspect is telling Fox News he sold Natalee into the human slave trade. Here is a bit of Greta Van Sustern's exclusive interview with Joran Vandersloot.
She was with me, went to the beach with her, and we were just making out. We never did anything else. And then at first I didn't see anyone there, I didn't know anything, and I was like, okay, whatever, you know, it's not gonna happen. Then I saw a guy, and he came, and he just handed me a bag, and grabbed the girl by the arm, and he went to the boat that he had in the water.
What did Natalee say?
And she said nothing till she was on the boat, and then she was like, hey, what's going on, you're not coming with me, or I don't know, she wasn't panicking or anything. And then when I was on the boat and the boat went away, I still heard like what's going on. I think she was pretty drunk. That's what the main thing was.
But she didn't struggle with this guy to go to the boat?
Mm-mm.
What did the guy give you?
He gave me a bag of money.
$10,000?
It wasn't even 10,000. It was less. That's what I was saying.
How much short?
A couple hundred short. Probably took it for himself. I don't know.
After the interview, believe it or not, Vandersloot retracted his story. What a guy. Joining us now from San Francisco, Fox News anchor and former prosecutor, Kimberly Guilfoyle. Kimberly spent a lot of time on this case. Kimberly, he's been spotted apparently by undercover agents saying that he was trying to entice young girls into the slave trade in Thailand. Apparently they have him on tape. What can you tell us about that, and how do you think this fits with that investigation?
You know, first of all, if Joran Vandersloot's lips are moving, he's lying. This guy's a pathological liar, one story after the next, but he's a very cunning and smart individual. So take some of the things that he says seriously. This is not just happenstance that he's coming out with this story now. I do believe, because this comes on the heels of the allegations against him, remember there was this undercover operation by Peter DeVries that caught him on tape admitting that he was involved in human trafficking, trying to get young Thai women that were unsuspecting, thinking that they were going to Holland to be models, and he was actually going to sell them into this trafficking sex slave trade and use them over there for money. So now he says, guess what? That's what happened with Natalee Holloway. If you recall back in the beginning of this investigation about the disappearance of Natalee Holloway, there was a lot of speculation that perhaps this had happened to her. So Joran is sort of putting two and two together. He's potentially looking at charges in Thailand for his scheme that he was doing with those young women. He's also still facing potential murder charges in the disappearance and likely death of Natalee Holloway in Aruba. But does he want to be in a Thai prison, or perhaps back in Aruba where they won't, or in Holland where they won't extradite him? I think that he also is worried that he'll eventually be charged in this case. So now he's saying, wait a second, I didn't kill her, I didn't let her die, I actually handed her off to this other individual. The keys here are, this is a story that could be disproved. What about, he said this individual was staying at the Radisson Hotel. There should be hotel records. There should be cell phone records of the calls. Perhaps eyewitness information as well. None of this is adding up.
Kimberly,
Joran is hoping to sort of muddy the waters so that he doesn't get charged with anything.
When I came in today and they told us we were going to do this story, I thought this whole thing was over. I didn't realize that people are still looking at the possibility that he could be charged with murder. Tell us, I didn't know there was an ongoing investigation. I thought that the authorities had said it's over. You're telling us it's not over.
You know, they've said that several times. The fact of the matter remains, as a former prosecutor, the case is not closed. He's been arrested several times in this case when new information surfaces, so don't count the authorities out yet. And hardworking people like Greta Van Susteren who continue to investigate this case to get to the bottom of it, to get to the truth. With his latest little tale, Joran has also implicated the Calpo brothers in kidnapping, in human trafficking. His own father, he's made an allegation that his father paid $50,000 to two police officers to cover up this story. There is no end to this web of lies and deceit.
Kimberly,
and what we do know is this individual is a predator and a danger to women everywhere.
Now, you've been involved in many cases. Since this has been ticking on, the time going on and on and on, how do you end up putting together a murder case without a body? And have we seen cases where this has happened before, where there's been no body, where there is no evidence? How do you do that?
Absolutely. As a former prosecutor, I've done that. It's called a no-body case. We're allowed to do that in this particular country. However, in Aruba, there are complications because you would have to be able to prove that Natalee Holloway is, in fact, deceased, that she is no longer with us. Now, they have not been able to recover her body or any remains, any kind of DNA to tie her in to say this woman is no longer with us. That's part of the speculation with the stories that she's somewhere working in the sex slave trade, that perhaps she is alive, and that would be sufficient reasonable doubt with respect to this case. That's why you see people like Tim Miller from EquiSearch combing the waters, going through the air, trying to find any trace of Natalee Holloway. Because guess what? If you recall, John, this guy confessed that he was with Natalee Holloway and that she died and that he dumped her body in the water. I believe the facts and evidence actually support that chronology, that fact pattern, more so than the new, like, let me think of something else to say, sex trade industry that he said he sold her into.
Okay, Kimberly,
so
you know,
it
it is clearly a case that just simply will not go away, and I hope at the end of the day we're going to see some justice. Kimberly, thank you very much, and be sure to check out the On Record tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern. Greta's going to have the follow-up on this story, and there's plenty more ahead as a Factor moves